Robin comes, bob, bob, bobbing, when the red, red robin comes, bob, bob, bobbing, when the red, red robin comes, bob, bob, bobbing along.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are a reputable East Hull-based car specialist and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members. Hello and welcome to this week's Robin Pod Weekly. And we go into the derby game on the back of a defeat to the Wigan Warriors. Of course, prior to that, we defeated that lot in the Challenge Cup quarter-final. It's an old saying, James. It's almost becoming a saying that we make on the podcast. It's never dull being a Hull Kingston Rovers supporters, and the last week or the last week and a half has proved that, hasn't it? So, James, welcome to the Robin Pod again.
Good to see you, Jono. Good to see you, Martin. Yeah, never dull. Never dull.
Yeah, never dull. Before, let's welcome Martin. We've got another Robin Pod debutant. We're putting an appeal out for new people to come out onto the Robin Pod, of course. We want to refresh it every week and give people, our listeners, our viewers, different viewpoints from different people. Martin, welcome to the Robin Pod.
Thanks for having me. I hope you don't regret it.
Well, hey, I tell you what, there's people who don't want me on it. So, Martin, I won't be surprised if we do get some negative feedback. But don't worry, Martin, you're in safe hands as long as you talk about Hull Kingston Rovers with a positive slant. You'll be always welcome back on the Robin Pod. I tell you what, Martin, let's go back to that Wigan Warriors game. Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? Really, Friday night. I tell you what, the pre-match build-up, it was a big game for the Robins. We saw, obviously, they're pulling out all the stops of the club in terms of putting Tommy Davis out there performing. We had the DJ set. It was primed for a great night of rugby league. And to be fair, take away the result, it was a big night of rugby league in East Hull.
Yeah, it was. I got that feeling when I was there about an hour before. I had a walk around Craven Street, and you could just feel the atmosphere building, the pre-match entertainment, the fireworks, the fire show, a bigger wave following, a bit of tension in the ground. It had the hallmarks of a big game, and the build-up. I was just in the part of the East Stand where Brian Carney did his intro at the beginning of Sky Sports. He was encouraging the crowd to sing Red, Red Robin. And my partner Julie, she's only just been converted to the red and white because she's from West Hull, if I dare say it. And she loved the occasion. The result was a little bit disappointing, and it certainly didn't reflect the game. It was nowhere near a 28-12 defeat. Chalk off the last couple of tries, because was chasing it a little bit in the last 10, but there was no more than a score between them, and you could tell just from the whole match these were the two best teams in the Super League at the moment.
Yeah, James, I mean, let's go back to that first score of the game as well. Burgess goes in, obviously a video screen because people were wondering whether he did actually ground it. What a fantastic try that was. Just in terms of athleticism and being able to ground the ball like he did. I tell you what, Jim, if you go back maybe, I don't know, 8-10 years, them tries would not have been scored. The players just simply could. We've become accustomed to now, haven't we? Them type of Joe Burgess tries, not just for the Robins, in rugby league in general, because it was an absolutely fantastic finish. And the effort that these players make to ground the ball through sheer athleticism, it's amazing at times.
It is, and I think probably when you say you look back, and like I said, probably 10 years ago that wouldn't have scored that. Plus, also don't forget they hit the corner post. It was disallowed, and probably taking the corner post out of the equation is probably one of the probably one of the best rule changes the game's ever made. And you're right, those sort of tries that, Burgess got, and we've seen Davies get, and we've seen, Tony Makinson get them when he was at Saints. We've come to expect them now, but you don't get tired of seeing them. But, Burgess' try on Friday night, it's what we needed to really set the tone. We needed to get a good start against Wigan, and we certainly got it. And it was, a great try. And just echoing what Martin was saying, the whole pre-game atmosphere and the whole build-up, it just had that feeling of the top two teams in the league going head to head with, obviously the grand final revenge in the background as well, and just Rovers sort of setting the pace early season. It had the build-up and markings for a great occasion, and it was.
Yeah, I tell you what, Martin, let's go back to the lineup though for that game. Obviously, Jes Lytton played so well against that lot in the derby, coming on as an interchange to replace Mikey Lewis. Was you surprised to see him then line up in that starting role in place of Lewis? Or was you expecting that, or would you like to have seen something different?
I'd have probably, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, as you know. I'm not a fan of making 2 or 3 positional changes just to cover one position, if that makes sense. I'd have probably plumped Richardson and kept Lytton as the substitute, number 9. And the other tricky decision was Morg or Broadbent. He wanted to keep Broadbent involved, so he put him on the bench and brought Morg in, because he usually goes with four forwards on the bench. But in defence of Broadbent, he has deserved his place in the side. And I just thought there was a bit of disruption when McIlaurin went off. There was change, Broadbent coming in, Lytton moving around back to hooker, and it just disjointed everything, I thought. And I thought if we just had an out-and-out scrum half like Richardson, that area of the field and play would have been settled. It was a little bit unsettled. And again, but credit to Rovers, they still made a great fist of it with a bit of adversity thrown in. And, with 12 minutes left, we're still winning 12-10. With 12 minutes left, we were still winning 12-10. A couple of decisions didn't go quite our way, the video ref and what have you. But all in all, it was a fantastic effort. They should take that confidence in the game this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, James, what did you make of the starting lineup? And not necessarily the starting lineup, but then obviously the McIlaurin injury then sort of manifested itself in a way where we ended up with Hicko in the halves, Broadbent coming. We for me, and I put it out on social media, Willie Peters seemed to do a few things that hasn't been there. Hull Kingston Rovers like over the last, I don't know, start of the season going into last year, we seem to be putting square pegs in round holes. It didn't seem to just work out, and the McIlaurin injury, of course, then compounded that, because they did then go like changing people all over the place. And for me, James, I think it was unnecessary, and it then manifested itself out on the pitch, albeit, like Martin said, going into the back end of the game, we were still well within it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was. It just, I don't know, it just seemed to be making change for change's sake. And I must say, we were surprised that it brought Lytton in at half-back and moved Morg to full-back. I think for me, for us, when we found out about it, I thought the obvious one was to keep Broadbent at full-back, because he's done nothing wrong. He thoroughly deserves his place at full-back. And then just bring Morg straight in at half-back to partner Tyrone May, because, Morg's was playing half-back for Catalans before he came over, so he's not unfamiliar with that particular role. That then keeps you Lytton on the bench. We always know, Lytton can play the big minutes, and obviously the whole plan is, give Mickey Mack, 20, 25 minutes or so, then you bring Litton on, etc. Obviously, the injury to McIlroy was probably scuppered that and just essentially meant that, Litton was going to have to play the full game. And then, moving Hiku to stand off again, probably an odd one when you've got Morg who could bring straight into halfback and put Broadbent off the bench into fullback and causing the least disruption. So it was a funny one, but hopefully it'll just be one of those things. But you're right. We were in it for so long, and don't forget they'd had a week off. And the previous week they'd played Salford, so you could argue they probably had 2 weeks, 2 weeks off.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that we were able to still be going toe to toe with them, with well into the last quarter, and it was just, I think, just ran out of gas at the end. Probably just simple as that, and just started to fall off tackles, etc. The odd bounce the ball. I mean, that when 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃's try, essentially they were trying to, it was scoreboard pressure that. And they just tried to get the ball alive, went to ground, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃 picks it up and is under the post. There's not like you can really do with that. And then obviously the try that went up to the video after Wisniewski was a bit of a, shall we say, still controversial one. But then it's all lifts and buts.
Yeah, and to be fair, Martin, like we said, the Robins half-time 12-6 up. They looked good value for it, didn't they? They really did look good value for that lead at half-time.
The dominated field position. They were solid. There was going through the sets, and bearing in mind there was no Batchelor or Lewis in this team. I was quietly confident before the game. If Lewis and Batchelor would have been playing, I'd have been very confident. You obviously got that X factor with Lewis, and Batchelor gives you that solidity in the forwards. It's an 8 out of 10 every week. But putting them reasons aside, I thought it was a really, really good, solid, dominant first half performance. Was unlucky. There was a little bit of confusion, I think, from the sidelines when McIlroy got injured. He should have gone down. He should have gone down before the scrum was formed. Then the ref would have had to bring the substitute on. But for whatever reason, in his wisdom, whatever, he carried on and they shoved him on the wing. And I jokingly said, I hope they don't ping it out to the wing here. He's just going to run around him. And ultimately, that's what happened, which was a little bit disappointing. There was some lack of communication or something from the touchline, was it? I read somewhere they couldn't get him on, or they was trying to get him off, and he wouldn't walk off. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened with that.
Yeah, well, James, it's not the first time, because at Huddersfield we had the scenario where Waera-Hargreaves at the end of the game, he came on and was took and it's never been sort of answered, has it? Whose fault? Because Sean Kenny Dowell, he's the one who's on the side of the field who's managing the interchanges, whether it was a referee call or but to leave him out on the pitch, it looks so exposed. And to be fair, in rugby league, teams are often exposed that weakness. That you're sometimes crying out when you see a player go down injured and he's still out on the pitch. You're going, run at him. And they don't. They're the opposite way. Yeah. So fair credit to Wigan for taking advantage of that. And I'm surprised that it's not being asked about, especially in the pre-game conference that 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃 held on Monday.
Maybe they didn't want to sort of lay blame on someone in the public. They maybe had a word in house. Right. You said it happened at Huddersfield with Hargreaves, didn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, we move on.
This game, the 1%ers which win games, that could have been the difference. If we'd have gone in 12-0, for example, at half time, it could have been enough to win the game. Who knows? It's all. Yeah.
I tell you what, James, Martin makes a great point there. The 1%ers, and it's more apparent against Wigan, isn't it? You do not need to give Wigan any opportunity for them to score, James. And we did it a couple of times at the back end of the game. We saw Burgess leaving the ball in the field of play when he could have gone out to touch. So Atamar come up with you know, a terrible pass, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awful.
You know,
Yeah.
So and that was, for me, James, that Wigan game on Friday night. We did a lot of things that were very Hull Kingston Rovers like. We just came up with some plays that, and it seems to be when we come, Wigan are like our kryptonite at the moment.
Yeah.
Whenever we come against them, we seem to just come up with some daft plays, whether that's off field, on field, and ultimately it's something that needs addressing. I don't know how we address it, because you're only playing the team that you know on a match day, and you're facing them, and how you react to them. But I hope it don't start becoming a psychological thing that whenever we play a Wigan, that a fear factor creeps in, because ultimately, come the back end of the season, it is most likely, barring the Challenge Cup final, we are going to be playing Wigan in the big games.
Yeah, I think it just comes down. A lot of it comes down to errors. I think, you know, they're the masters at taking advantage of teams when they make errors. And we saw that, you know, totally on Friday night when you know we're losing the ball, poor passes, etc., missed tackle. They take advantage of it, and it's like I said, it's what they do. It's what great teams do. They take advantage of errors. We are getting there, but it still, again, just shows you where that benchmark needs to be. Hopefully, they've got errors out of the system now, and it seems to be the last probably 15 minutes or so, we made more errors in that game than we had in virtually every game put together all season. But I just put that down to fatigue. You know, I don't think we can highlight enough how much that week game beforehand took. There's a physical element to it, but also the emotional side of it as well. And like I said, they had the week off, come into fresh, and the fact that we're going toe to toe with them after 60-65 minutes shows we're a lot fitter than we perhaps than we have been. You know, and we've got to give great credit to the backroom staff for that. But you know, ultimately, when you're playing a team as good as Wigan, you know, you've got to cut the errors out, otherwise it's going to skin you, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and Martin, it was really interesting hearing Willie Peters. He did make reference to the fact that Wigan had the week off and they look fresher, but he didn't put the defeat down to them having a week off and them being rested. But I tell you what, Martin, it doesn't matter who you play. If you miss 55 tackles in a game, you know, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
It's not
the opposition are going to take advantage of that, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think Peters came out today in his presser saying that they can be slightly misleading, those stats. You know, like for instance, if you want to go for a big hit and they ricochet off you and someone gets them straight away, that's classed as a missed tackle. But it ultimately did say that it needs addressing. It's not Rovers like 55, and still we could have won the game with 55 missed tackles. So it's an odd stat. It's quite misleading. You think, God, you know, they can't tackle for Toffee if they're missing 55. It doesn't quite work like that. You know, you might just, like I say, ricochet off someone, grapple, miss them the first time, but get them the second time, and the first time you missed it, that'll be classed as a missed tackle. So the stats can be a little misleading, I think. And Peters sort of allude to that in his presser today. He didn't make any excuses for it, but he did say that, you know, that it isn't quite as it seems. Because what was Wigan's? Was it 45 then? Was it? No,
Wigan's was 15.
15. Oh, right.
15, yeah. And that's what compounds it. And then I think and also when you look at, sometimes I do quite, these stats by the way, come from the official Super League website, right? So we've got 55 missed tackles, okay? And then you look at the tackle busts, 55 tackle busts from Wigan, 15 missed tackles from Wigan. And I tell you what, James, how many tackle busts do you think from Rovers?
It says about 10 or something like that.
15.
15.
So,
Yeah, and don't they sometimes put the completion rates at over 100%.
well, the completion rate for Wigan on Friday night was 102%.
There you are.
Rovers was 99%. But to be fair, like Martin said, Willie Peters did address it in the pre-match press conference to say it is something that they need to improve on, regardless of the stats. Too many missed tackles, and we can't afford to do that against a side like Wigan, who ultimately, like we've said, guys, capitalise. You give them a chance in a big game, and they capitalise on it, and that's why you can never ever write off the Warriors, Martin, because they're always when it counts, they make it happen, they show up.
Again, another frustrating part of last Friday was, like you say, with 12 minutes left, we're still winning. You know, with all this adversity, what's gone on, key players missing, we're still in the lead against the world champions. You know, so and then I think Smith scored from a bit of a soft try to put them 16-12 ahead, and from that moment on, Rovers just seemed to sort of go in panic mode. That they had to score off every tackle, off every play, and there was still 10 minutes left. There was still time. There was only 16. There was only a score down, and I thought they still could have reverted to type, built the pressure, kicked to the corners, force an error defensively, and try to get a score that way. But they seemed to sort of go hell for leather, throwing it about with gay abandon. And it's not like Rovers. Rovers build the game on being patient, dominating field position, putting teams in corners, exerting pressure, you know, and earning the right to play with that freedom. But they just sort of reverted to that. As soon as that went behind, it was sort of like a bit of a panic mode. And there's still only a score down with 10 minutes left. And, you know, it was a little bit, it's been hypercritical. You know, when you're at this level now, we're getting really critical because, you know, in 10, 15 years ago, would have been happy with a 10-point defeat at home to Wigan. Happy with a 10-point defeat. Now we're thinking we could have got over the line with a weakened team with a lot of adversity. It's a little bit disappointing, but it's one of those things. They'll learn from it. They'll grow from it, and you know, let's get a win on board at the weekend.
It's a great point Martin made, James, about mindset shift in terms of it's not acceptable to lose to Wigan anymore. No. You know, ultimately, it's, you know, we can applaud effort, we can applaud tries, but now we're at a point where the bar's so high, we have to beat Wigan, because if we don't beat Wigan, we're probably not going to win.
You're not going to win anything. Yeah.
That is the bar we're at now, isn't it? And thankfully, we've built up a healthy lead in terms of league points at this stage of the season. But that could quickly change, and some point now, you know, like you said, the bar is so high for the Robins in terms of winning these games that we're almost shifting away from. Yeah, but we put great effort in and we troubled them, and it's at some point we need to we have to beat Wigan. I genuinely believe that we have to beat, for the rest of this season, there'll be 2 games against Wigan that we have to win. And if we don't win them 2 games, we will not lift silverware at any point this season, barring the Challenge Cup. Yeah. Because that's obviously they're out now. So it's tough now, isn't it? It's really, really tough.
Which is, it's that 1%, is that the small margins we're at now. You know, we're going to be in so many more close games, and the winning games against Wigan are going to be close. That those, as Mike said, those 1%ers that can make the difference, and that one error that can lose you a game. But you know, we've set that bar high now, and that's where we need to be aspiring to it. And then we're going to just seem to be slightly above it, but you know, that's where we need to be targeting, above them.
Martin, look, if you look at the side that Willie Peters put out, There was some great performance. So came away with a man of the match in terms of the sponsors. We saw, for me, Martin, I mean, we've probably mentioned it already, just two teams going toe-to-toe, like battering each other. We saw when Patrick Mago came on, what a unit he is, and we seem to counter that. And we saw, I tell you what, we saw something we hadn't seen from Dean Hadley for a long time when he went up against Nsembe, and then we saw them two having a little cuddle, didn't we? Put down to, but for Wigan, they know that when they play the Robins, they're in for a big game, and it was. But if you take a step back from being a Rover supporter and you just looked at the spectacle of it being a game of rugby league, it was elite level rugby league where it was two really good teams just going hammer on tongue at each other.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I was saying to my partner, I said, she'd only just sort of come over to the. He said, why this game is. Why these two are the best teams in Super League at the moment. The intent. She said, "Oh God, it's brutal, isn't it? It's brutal." I said, "Yeah, because these are two of the best teams in Super League at the moment. They're quite a distance from the rest of the pack, and it's just like you say. I feel that if we'd have had the full team out, no injuries, full strength, I think would have won. I think we would have won." Hopefully we will be like that when we play them at their spot later in the year and maybe at the end of the season. We just need a bit of luck. We didn't quite get the luck and the bounce of the ball. You need everything to go against you. Every single 50-50, no injuries, no sin bins, no nothing. You need everything to go against you and play the almost perfect game to get over the line. And we are close. We're very, very, very close. That team, that weakened team, would have beaten any other team in the division. The Warringtons, the St Helens, they'd have beaten any other team. And like I've said it a number of times tonight, was 10 minutes away from winning. Was winning with 10 minutes left, 12 minutes left. So it just shows you how close we are. A couple of my mates who are from the dark side, they're saying, "Oh, you're getting ahead of yourself. You think you can win this. You think you can win that," and they can't stand the fact that I'm saying, "Look, we're at this level now. Unfortunately, you're not. You aspire to be, but you're not, and they don't like it. But that's just fact. That is just fact, and that's where we are at the minute. And it was frustrating, but let's put it down as lessons learned, and let's move on."
Yeah. Of course, right. Let's put that game to bed because there's still a humongous amount of stuff for us to talk about on this week's Robin Pod Weekly, which I'm sure watchers and viewers and listeners are keen to hear about. But before we talk about what's to come, let's take a step back in history because we welcome Steve Till for Robins Revisited. Steve, welcome to the Robin Pod. As always, it's a pleasure. Of course, it's a huge week of rugby league in the city of Hull because, of course, it's the derby. We've already had you on just a short while ago for the Robin Pod, Robins Revisited, when we talked about the Challenge Cup quarter-final tie. So I'm interested to see where you take us this week too, Steve.
I'm going to take you to the quarter-final, to Holland Rovers League game. But first, Magic Weekend, a couple of weeks away, May the 3rd. What does May the 3rd mean to you, lads?
Well, May the 3rd be with you.
It's 45 years on May the 3rd since we beat that lot at Wembley. But I'm not going to talk about that, not this week. What I'm going to talk about is a game on a Magic Weekend, going back to 2012. One of the ending of the game was probably one of the highlights of Rovers supporters. The game's been shown. It was that good. It's been shown on Sky dozens of times in full, but somehow they stopped doing all those repeats. But the game still brings shivers down the spine, because we were playing that lot at the Etihad, or as it was known then, the City of Manchester Stadium, and with 15 minutes to go, that lot were beating us 30-16 and looked like gaining their first ever Magic Weekend success against us. The first 65 minutes we had enough drama. Rovers saw Michael Dobson sin-binned, which gave Hull the opportunity to score the first try. Seymour crossing from a Danny Tickle pass and Tickle converting it, so they were 6-0 up. But Rovers came back, fought back. Tries from Hall and Shannon McDowell. Who remembers Shannon McDowell? And they were both converted by Dobson. So it was 12-6 to Rovers, but those two scored, and the teams went in for the half-time oranges and cups of tea and whatever they get, with Hull on an 18-12 lead. 10 minutes after half-time, and Green and Dobson put Hodgson over for his first try to make it 18-16, but the game then swung in Hull's favour again, and Martin and Turner gave Hull their 30 points to 16 lead, and we came to the final 15 minutes. It was then Rovers took over. First Hull put Latest in the corner before a pretty controversial Reece Lovegrove pass put Dobson in with 8 minutes left.
It was never forward.
Sorry?
It was never forward.
Never forward. Well, it won't if you look in the papers. Look in the papers from the game. But there was 8 minutes left, and Rovers tries the might to get those extra points to win the game. We're struggling. But with a minute to go, there was a cross-field move where Dave Hodgson ended up with the ball. The whole defence trying to swarm across field, but Hodgson bumping off 2 defenders, and he went over in the corner, and the game was over. Rovers had won 32 points to 30. A remarkable game. That try reminds me of that Ryan Hall try. Remember where he scored for Leeds against Huddersfield that gave Leeds the league leadership title? Similar type of thing. The excitement in the crowd was massive. The excitement on Sky commentary was massive. But boy, Rob Chadwick, the Rovers commentator, made a total meal of that try. And one of the great wins of the Magic Weekend.
I'll tell you what, I don't know your memories, Martin James, of that try, but when I look back, that was one of the... bearing in mind, Rovers weren't doing too great, was they? At that, there was there, but they weren't doing great, and a victory over that lot represented pretty much success, because we weren't competing at the top of the table. We very rarely did much in Challenge Cup, but that victory and to do it in that manner. I mean, Dave Hodgson, when he scored that try, it was almost like, when you can put your car into sport mode. That, like him running, he's like press the button, and he just gained that extra yard of pace to go around. And you only had to see the jubilation in the away end to be part of it, let alone then underneath the stand as well at the end of the game, where the Rovers fans didn't want to leave. There was that happy celebrating. Yeah, it was a fantastic moment. When you look back at derby moments, that is obviously I'm not as old as you three.
Thanks.
But when I look back at my memories of supporting the Robins, that is up there, just for the sheer, not the magnitude of the victory, but the sheer jubilation of that last minute try. It was just sheer joy. And that is, you know what? Let alone supporting Rovers, when you talk about liking sport, if you could bottle them moments and sell it, you'd be a billionaire, wouldn't you? Because you can't. It is just them moments of just sheer disbelief that it actually happened. And it's a great memory, Steve, that you brought up there. And Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people listening to the Robin Pod and watching this now will have been there and seen it and felt it. And the sad thing is, it was just a league game.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you still get excited to watch the reruns on Sky. When it's rerun dozens of times, and you still watch it and you think, wow, it's fantastic. You know exactly the ending, obviously.
Yeah.
Still want to watch it again because of the feeling it gives you.
Well, the thing that got me in that was, look at the build-up that Shannon McDonald did, that tip onto Wellham, that went on to then to Hodgson. I mean, that was just sublime, and that was what created it. I think just created that space that allowed Hodgson to ultimately score. It was just a great piece of play from McDonald.
Yeah, once he'd built his speed up, and he had the ball in the correct hand, and the defenders were coming in and just bumping them off. And no doubt, we were all screaming, weren't we? And the disbelief when he knocked the last one off, and you thought, well, he's going to score here and we're going to win. But like I say, May the 3rd this year, Magic Weekend.
Well, hopefully we've got a game.
Hopefully Salford are still around.
Hopefully we have, yeah.
Is it Salford? Is it Salford?
Yeah, Salford, yeah.
There aren't many sporting moments. I do remember a lot of great sporting moments because I've been there and I've seen them. And that's one of the great rugby league sporting moments that I've seen. Those that live in the memory, you can reminisce over them, and so the people, Hodge is still with Rovers, and no doubt people still mention that try. And I wonder how many tries he scored like it, because we didn't take a lot of notice of him in his Wigan and Salford days, and in the same way, but has he ever scored a try like it? I don't know. Yeah.
And Craig Sandercock, whatever happened to him?
That was his first ever. That was his first ever.
That's Derby, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the following year, if you remember, they all moan about that forward pass, but I think it was the following year. Wasn't that the one where Chris Green was stood offside?
Don't get me sacked.
Oh God!
That's a great point to end it on stage.
What was the common denominator? The common denominator was the referee, Steve Ganson. Although it was the video. I think he was the video referee for that second one. But no.
Always a pleasure, Steve, and I look forward to you joining us on the Robin Pod next week for the
Thank you very much, lads.
Robin's Pod
Cheers, Dave.
Cheers. Enjoy the rest of the programme.
Cheers, Dave.
Right, it's great to have you back on the Robin Pod. It's been a while since you've been on, and you're talking to us about another interesting venture that you're involved in. You're one of the people behind Rugby League United support recently created. Tell us about why it was created.
Obviously, there's been a lot of discontent around the sport recently, obviously at all levels, really, and not only at all levels, at all arms of the sport, the women's game, wheelchair as well. There's things happening behind the scenes constantly in all levels, and we believe that the fans have not had a voice anymore. They've lost a voice. They've had it taken away from them. Little things like it sounds daft, just like ticket prices are one thing, and it just escalates to what's happening now with the RFL and how they've recruited, shall we say, from within. And no one gets to say, and all this talk about people getting let go and getting rid of Catalan and Toulouse, and what did the fans think? We pay to watch this product, we pay to be entertained, and we're not going to say. And we believe now that the fans need to have their say now, and it's been far too long, and we think it's about time now.
Yeah, because I think obviously people are on social media, Bri. It's on social media. It's an opportunity to voice your opinion, but no one seems to listen. That it's people voicing their opinions, suggesting things, letting frustration out. It's not all negative as well. It's about celebrating the game that we all love and wanting to make a difference. And this is an opportunity now, isn't it, for supporters to join something which will hopefully give us a voice at the top table of rugby league in this country, in the Northern Hemisphere. Because, like you said, Bright, we don't have that voice, do we? And it's such a shame. I think it's now time for us to be heard.
And that's it. And the main thing about this is it's not just a Super League thing. This is for everyone. This for every fan out there. We want to unite everyone. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's not agree on everything. That's the way of the world. But the majority of people think the same thing about this sport. We seem to be going. We believe as fans we're not going in the right direction. There's a lot of fans who've turned away this season with things like Salford happening. Things that are happening at Castleford. People have turned away because there's nothing happening. They don't feel connected to the club anymore. And this is what we want. We want to get that connection back, and we want to be able to have our voices heard. And when I say our voices, I don't mean mine, don't mean yours. Do you know? I mean, as a community, we need to stand up and say, listen, this isn't right. We know this isn't right. We know that this should not be the path we're going down. We want a voice. We want to be able to say what we believe is right. And you know what? 9 times out of 10. Most fans are right on what they say. I know people can say things on social media and they can be passionate and be under the influence of adrenaline, shall we say, after games or about certain things. But when it comes to big issues, the majority of people are right, and we need that voice back. We really do. We just want to unite everyone. We want our voices heard.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, I think there's measures that can be put in place which are not massive things to do. So, for example, Kingston Rovers, of course, you're on the Robin Pod, Bri. We have a supporters committee, which is then chaired by the club CEO, key club officials. That committee is made up of people who represent certain sections of the supporter base. So whether it's you're in a stand, whether you're an out-of-town supporter. And then as supporters, we have the opportunity to feed into them people our questions, our opinions, anything that we might want putting forward. And then the club take that on board and do something with it. And then they challenge the committee as well to go back to supporters to get opinions. Now, why can't the RFL have that in terms of every club being represented by somebody who is then able to channel the opinions and ideas of that support base from that club into the RFL? There's nothing there, is there, at the moment?
No, there's not. And you know what? That's a perfect way of looking at it. It's like I'll use, like, I live in West Yorkshire. I'm close to Dsbury-Dams. I'll let you know what Dsbury. They have the Amber Ribbon Club. Amber Ribbon are amazing. The sports association, basically, and they have a fund which then they basically go and give to the club, and they can bring a player in, and they sponsor the player, and they help the club that way. But then did they have a seat on the board? Did they have a say on? Do you know what I mean? Little things that affect the fans. Then, you know what I mean? They're putting their heart and soul into this. They're bringing players in, like most clubs that I know. Other clubs have, like, I'll just use Huddersfield. Huddersfield have the Sports Association. That Bartley have things. Other clubs have it, but then they get a say. They're not getting consulted on what they want and what they need, and this is the main thing about it. And the best way of putting it is football. Football have a similar thing to this, but the Football Players Association, they have a member from every club who then has the issues of the players that the players have. They don't then report to the FA. They report to the head of their players association, and then they're the ones who have the seat on the board. And it's, as you say, that's kind of what we want. We want every club to have something, to then be able to go to one person who then represents all fans. on that board and pass on their what they want and what they need.
Yeah, and there's two massive groups of people who are massively underrepresented in rugby league, and they're the ones who add to the spectacle of the game and make the game what it is. That's the players. The players don't have a united voice, and it's the supporters. Nope. And it's an opportunity. How many times have we heard about players wanting to have more of a voice within the game? You only have to look at the Salford situation to see what's going on with some of their players and the challenges that they're facing. And it's the same for supporters now, isn't it? How can people find out more, Brian, about Rugby League United, and how can they get involved with it?
So at the moment, we are on most social media. I think we're on Blue Sky, Instagram and X at the moment. We also have a website, which is 𝗪𝐿united.co.uk. You can sign up to become a member there. We are planning a lot of things coming in the future. Obviously, we're brand new at the moment. We just need as much support as we can at the moment. All of our social media, I say on Blue Sky, Instagram and X, is 𝗪𝐿united25. Make it easy for everyone to get in touch. And we want everyone's voice. We want everyone's opinion. We want to share everything. Anything that's a bugbear and what you want. We are in the process of speaking the Football Association supporters club. We're in the process of talking to them because they're massive. They helped with the I think it was the European Super League thing that the football had, and they have a voice. They have a big voice in football, so they're helping us and guiding us in our next steps. And we will be having things like petitions, AGMs to get these voices across. And at the end of the day, we want everyone's voices heard. So we need everyone's support.
Yeah, and Bri, there'll be lots of people watching and listening to this who maybe listening about and hearing about the Rugby League United Support Association for the first time. Where would you like to see this head into, and what would be success for you with this? Success
for me would be eventually having a fan's voice on the RFL board. That's exactly what we need. We need our voices heard. So for me, the end goal is that, we want someone to represent us. It doesn't matter. It could be you, it could be me, it could be anyone. As long as our voices are heard and we get that voice across and we get our opinion on what we want across to these people who sit around this table and basically decide what we want. That's what they're doing. They decide how we want to be entertained and how we're going to pay for it and how we're going to do it and how we're going to stream it. But we're the ones who are paying for it. So we want to know. We want our opinion heard.
Apologies for people who've been listening to Brian there and going straight from Steve Till into that. A bit of a mix-up in terms of crossing over. But two really interesting people. Brian doing great things with the Rugby League United, and I urge you to seek them out and join them, because the more people who join them, the greater opportunity we do to have a voice at the top table of rugby league, which I think supporters are missing out on right now. Of course, great memories of Magic Weekend and the victory over that lot. And of course, we cannot do the Robin Pod this week without talking about that huge game on Friday. Good Friday. I'm sure it's going to be a great Friday, because I've got no doubt whatsoever it's going to be a convincing victory for the Robins. But before we talk about that game, there's lots of news coming out of HU9. And of course, James, the announcement that Jared Waera-Hargreaves is retiring from Rugby League, which was quickly followed up by the announcement that Tom Amone from the Canterbury Bulldogs, although he's not really featured for them, of course, most famously featuring for Leigh Leopards, will be coming in to replace Jared Waera-Hargreaves. big news. What do you make of it, James? I suppose Hargreaves, like Willie Peters said, he deserves the opportunity to bow out when he decides.
It does, and you got to say, what an absolute stellar career the guy's had. I mean, reading some of the tributes from, the likes of the Roosters, etc., that about him, and you're thinking, he's been a great player. And, to be honest, was really expecting him to be here any longer than 1 year. I think for me, what Hargreaves was brought in to do, and I think what he's certainly been doing is that winning mentality. It's an aspect that's been developing over time with the club, but to bring in somebody like him who's been there, done it, got the T-shirt, got the scars to prove it, and everything that Willie Peters has said about what he's brought to the club in the background, just really reinforces what an asset he's been to the club coming, since he's joined. It's just bringing that winning mentality, and I think we're a bit worried when wondering how the defence was going to go this season, but the fact that we're here, Hargreaves and Mickey McIlroy have come in, and that when they've been on the field for those opening 20-25 minutes or so, we've just looked impregnable, and it's that sort of thing that you need to set a base to go forward. So you're right, it's great that he can go out on his terms, but then bringing in someone like Tom Amone as a replacement, I mean, goodness me, what a great sign. I mean, when it was first published that it was potentially, the club was potentially interested, I thought, no, it's not going to happen. He's going to go to Warrington. He's going to go to St. He's going to go back to Leigh. Never in my mind did I think he'd end up at Rovers, but absolutely delighted he signed. And the way they've done it as well, he comes over, plays at Castleford, he brings his family over, his family has settled into the area. We know how important that is for players coming over. So when he starts pre-season with Rovers in November, his family's going to be settled. He's living in Hull. He's not having to travel and move house again, and he can get straight in and have a stellar season next season and beyond.
Yeah, great acumen. And when you, Martin, when you look at Waera-Hargreaves and what he's contributed to Robin so far, people thought he was going to be a penalty machine. He was going to be, you'd see him off the pitch more than you would see him on it because he'd be suspended. He's come in and he's. I think the funny thing is, a lot of opposition supporters expected him to just sort of bulldoze his way through every single defence, and the fact that he hasn't means that he's now past it. He's no good. He's here on holiday, and I think it's really interesting to see how opposition supporters have commented on him, because it probably shows you how much he was feared in terms of what he does do. And Willie Peters talks about him so fondly and highly in terms of not just what he does on the pitch, what he's done around it and around the club. But no doubt, Martin, no matter what you do off the pitch, Willie Peters is a hard taskmaster. If you're not doing it on the pitch, you're out. So I think we underestimate actually what he's actually doing for the side at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. He does all the ugly stuff well, and a lot of the ugly stuff is not noticeable to the layman. He attracts defenders. He takes some stopping. One thing I've noticed is how quick he can get to his feet to play the ball. For such a big guy, he gets up in a blink of an eye, and that second quicker than other people gives the half back and the attack that extra second to get the go forward going. He's disappointed a lot of people for not being either sin-binned or sent off, which, everyone was worried. Myself was a little bit thinking, oh God, what's he going to be like? But anyway, he's knuckled down, he's adhered to the rules, and he's been solid, he's been reliable, he's played big minutes, he hasn't been injured, he's got good go forward, like I say, he attracts defenders, and going back to the beginning of the season, when he told Peters before he was going to Amsterdam that this is going to be his last season, he didn't have to do that. He could have left it till a month before the end of the season. So at least time to get a replacement on board. No one knew that, and it's only come out now that they've got Tom Amone, which you said, James, is a great signing. But yeah, I hope he can go out on a good note. be it the Challenge Cup or the Grand Final or the league leaders or all three. It'll be great. If we can send him on his way with a winner's medal of some description, it'll be job done. Well done. Thank you very much. Happy retirement.
Yeah, and I tell you what, James, what was really interesting about when Willie Peters commented about, I think he was asked, wouldn't it be great to send, put a ribbon round Hargreaves' career by gifting him silverware and the team, and Peters said, well, it's not just about Hargreaves, it's about me delivering silverware for the club or and the supporters. And I think that is the mentality that that we need that mentality of, one player is part of that side, and we want to do the best for them. But there's a bigger goal. It's more important than just one player, and you sometimes you hear these little snippets and that go into like the psyche of the team around Willie Peters and the club, and how we've evolved is amazing, really, isn't it? In terms of that psyche change.
Yeah. It's just that togetherness, and you can just see that in every game. And just going back to Waera-Hargreaves, I think you can clearly tell that he's bought into what the club is, the culture of the club, and wants to enhance that. And Willie Peters was talking that those words you said, I think last week, about how much he's enjoyed it, how much his family's enjoying it, how he'd suggest it to anybody in NRL to come over and actually do it, because it's a completely different experience. It's a life experience for him and his family, and it just brought it home to me how much he's been, he has bought into it after the Challenge Cup quarter final, when he was just sat in the North Stand with his kids and just lapping it up. And it was, you could tell he was at ease. He's thoroughly enjoyed it. He didn't want to leave the pitch. He just wanted to enjoy it with the Rovers fans, with his family. And, that's the type of mentality we've needed, and we've got it. And you're right. It's not just about Waera-Hargreaves. It's about, the likes of Minchella. It's about all of them bringing that ethos of that club togetherness, and that's going to help you can see that in the success that we're having.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we're already running late. I can see this going on for much longer than I thought it was going to do, because we're going to talk about the derby yet, Martin, which is on our horizon. Of course, we defeated that lot in the Challenge Cup quarter final. I think the scoreline probably flattered them when you look at it in the end, in terms of the dominance, and that was without Michael Lewis. Of course, Jess Litton came on and replaced Mikey and put in a man of the match performance, which he was fully deserving of. What are you making of the derby? Because there's some people in some sections of the city who may look at a defeat to Wigan and the fact that they are second place in the league going, I tell you what, Rovers, they're there to be had. And I don't buy into that. What do you reckon?
No, I don't buy into it neither. They've looked at, we got beat Friday, they beat Warrington. Oh God, Rovers have fallen off a cliff. We're going on an upward curve. They're there for the taking. It wasn't like that at all. Like I said early in the programme, the scoreline was flattered Wigan massively. There was only a score in it, if that. I'm nervous, but not as nervous as I was for the cup quarter final. There was a lot more involved on that. Obviously, lose and that's it. So I'm still a little bit nervous, but I'm more confident. Hopefully, Lewis will be fit. Batchelor's back, and I just hope we revert to type and have a build pressure, complete. Don't have a frenetic first 20 minutes like last time. Kick them to the corners. Aggressive defence. Just be patient. Just go through the sets, and we've got the better players across the board. And I think, anywhere between sort of 12 to 16 points for me.
Yeah, I tell you what, James, as well. I mean, what's useful is actually the fact we played them just so recently. All the new players who have not experienced a derby before, now they're going to this game going, You know, we know the arrival route. We know when we get off the bus, we go to here. We know when we go warm up. This is the. We know where our rovers. We know where our families sat. We know what to expect when it's noisy. So almost the prepped for it, and they came out with that game with a victory as well. And you know what I will say? I don't know if you know the build up to this game on Friday seems a little bit flatter than it normally would be. Probably because of the quarterfinal, all the build-up was for that. And I think that suits the Robins more than it does them, because I think they need to be able to raise their game to a higher level than they have been performing at the moment, whereas the Robins are quite comfortable with where they are at. And the build-up to this game on Friday, it seems a little bit more dampened for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're demonstrating the quarter final that you think about opening 20-25 minutes or so. I honestly didn't think it was going to be our day. Just the number of unforced errors we were making. It was totally probably the worst opening quarter we've had all season. Yeah, just errors, penalties, losing Mikey, and despite all that, they didn't even look like scoring. They did not look like scoring, even though we were playing, we were just like basically trying to gift it to them more or less. And then once we got that opening try, Tom Davis got opening try, the 21st minute, something like that. We didn't look back, and then we scored with 32 unanswered points after 60 minutes or so. That's killed the game, So we've demonstrated to them that we've given you a chance, you couldn't take it, you're not great. When we want to turn it on, we can turn it on. We can rip you to shreds, and that's without we're supposedly like a one-man team with Mikey, and that's without Mikey Lewis and playing a hooker at standoff. We can rip you to shreds when we want, and I think that's probably they can talk as much as they want, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be we will win on Friday on Friday.
Great Friday.
Good Friday, yeah.
No, Great Friday.
Great Friday, yeah.
Yeah. Martin.
It's like Gargantuan Friday.
Yeah. But, Martin, how do you think the injury to 𝗂𝗂𝗏 will impact us? Because he's played a massive part in our rise to the top of Super League in terms of his early season performance. The platform he helps lay, along with other players such as Waera-Hargreaves that we've already talked about, and that massive defensive effort from minute 0 to 20-25. 𝗂𝗂𝗏's played a huge part in that. How will that impact us with him not playing?
Yeah, hopefully not too much. I think it probably will, because he took a lot of juice out the opposition with his aggressive defence. It'd have been interesting if Leyland would have been available, if he'd have been in the squad, because at some point he's got to get a game. He's got to get a game at some point. So it'll be interesting moving forward if he brings Leyland in. But Litton's capable of playing 80 minutes. I haven't got any danger of him tiring or anything like that. At least we're going to have that speed and agility around the ruck from minute 1 for the full game. So yeah, there's injuries. Every club has injuries. You just got to cope with them. We've got to adapt and overcome. And yeah, I'm still confident. I'm still confident we can do it. And sort of moving forward, 𝗂𝗂𝗏 injury and the Reece Martin injury, they'll be like 2 new signings in July when they're back. Just when when you want a bit of freshness in the team, it's like 2 new signing quality players coming back in right at the business end of the season. Which Reece Martin is a quality player, and we haven't even realised he hasn't been playing. He's sort of he's injured. Let's just forget about it. But when he's fit, he'll be in the team. He's a quality player. I know
it's a great point about the squad depth, to the point where Reece Martin's missing and he's not really spoke about.
No.
I tell you what, James, when you look at the squad announcement and you see who's in that squad for Friday, Harvey Horn's name there. Of course, we've seen Ewubedoro go on loan to Bradford. He's going to play Good Friday against Halifax. Then we've seen Richardson named in the lineup. when you look at the side, it points towards Mikey Lewis being fit because he's probably, I know Broadbent's played for Castle for that hooker, but Mikey Lewis is the only one really where you look at it who could spell Lytton if needed in the hooker role. There's not, I don't think there's a clear, because you can't rely on Lytton going 80 minutes without having a backup at some point. So it's going to be interesting, but I really hope to see Mikey Lewis play because he's been, obviously, you know, he loves the derby. He loves playing on that stage. He loves socking it to him. He loves standing in front of that south stand after scoring a try. So I hope we see him out there. The squad, for me, now that Batch is back, you know, you can pretty much pick the team. And I think Batch coming back, James, is a huge bonus for the Robins because he's so pivotal. He's part of the leadership group that Willie Peters talks about. He's such a pivotal player for Rovers.
Yeah, he is, and I think, you know, it was interesting that he was in the squad for Wigan, but obviously didn't make the final 17. I think that's probably wise because on the basis that, you know, it may not have been 100%. So why risk him in one game and then the risk that if he gets injured again, it keeps him out for a lot longer. Bringing Batch in, I think it's going to add a lot more defensive solidity, and also probably means Tanganoa goes on back on as the interchange, where I think that's where he's best at, coming on. Just as, you know, after the first half hour or so, coming on, and when, you know, some of their forwards are starting to tire, you bring in Tanganoa. I mean, I thought it was outstanding on Friday night, you know, for the whole game, but he just seems to go to another level when he comes on in the second half. But, you know, Batch is just, you know what you're going to get with Batch. You know, and he's going to give you that defensive solidity that will perhaps going to slightly miss from with McIlroy not being in there. But yeah, you look at that squad and you're thinking that is still a hell of a squad. That is a hell of a squad. It's going to take some team to beat that, and you know, the team we're playing on Friday, I do not think at that level.
No, and I'll tell you what, Martin. You know, I hate doing it, but you've got to give them credit to a certain point. You know, they've done well to arrest the form of last season, rejuvenate themselves, and then come back and be where they are in the league. But the fact that they're playing two centres at second row, that is surely something we've got to exploit. The fact that James Batchelor coming back, you know, we've got tried and tested players in them positions. If we can't exploit the fact that they've got Zach Hardacre and Chamberlain, who you know, Chamberlain has been average Hardacre at the twilight of his career. We can't exploit them playing out of position. You know, we've got to be on them because I think that is the route to victory. Exploit them in them positions.
Yeah, without a doubt. If we can keep their pack, basically, it's virtually a one-man pack with Herman Esse. There's no one, they've got no other go forward apart from that guy. If they can keep him wrapped up, keep the offloads to a minimum, we should be dominating. We should be dominating the forwards without a doubt. Ironically, though, I think there's quite a bit of pressure on that lot because they'll be going in there, and the fans will be fully expecting them to do a number on us after what they've done, beating Warrington away, so on and so forth. So, ironically, the pressure's more on them to win than it is on us, with the expectation from the crowd and so on. So whether they can handle that, I mean, Rovers have played in a lot of big games now. They're getting used to these big games, big occasions, big crowds. They've just got to, like you say, be patient, go through the sets, kick them in the corners, aggressive defence. They'll just wear them out, they'll just smother them, and then, you know, they'll earn the right to spin the ball out wide. And with the likes of Burgess and Davis and that, and it should be enough to get the 2 points. Yeah,
I tell you what, James, it's a great point that Martin makes because, it is a big game. It's a derby. Of course it is. It's bragging rights. It's 2 points. It's about going to work on Monday and seeing your work colleagues and saying, we've done you. It's about seeing your family and going, you're not, you know, good, but not quite good enough, all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, the derbies over recent years, and like I said, it's such a different feeling. I'm supremely confident that we are going to beat them. And not only just beat them, put points past them. And maybe that's yeah, don't get me wrong, they've got a good spine now, but it's not a tried and tested spine. I think if you nullify Caesar, you know, you pretty much, you've got a chance, because after that, their attacking flair sort of dies down. You know, and the quarter-final game, there was such a build-up on them about what they're going to bring to the table. And the scoreline, we talked about the Wigan game, yeah, scoreline flattered them. I think the scoreline flattered that lot, because yeah, on paper it looks a closer game than what it actually was. And you look at when Rovers scored the points, and I just think, James, if we get that 20-minute spell, if we play like we know we can, and we cut out them errors that we made in the quarterfinals, you know, I really I'm excited to see what comes from this side, because I really think they're going to put them to the sword. Yeah,
I agree. I think if we play with the intensity that we opened against Wigan and take it to them on that sort of level, we'll win. Because I don't think they've got anybody who can compete with us. Cut out Caesar, which we did in the quarter-final, and he's basically like anonymous. And then you think the only player who's really going to threaten you is 𝘂𝗃𝗃𝗃, and he scored a try obviously in the quarter-final, but other than that, it was wrapped up. Did a number on him, and do the same again on Friday. On Friday, and you know it should be a comfortable win.
I know Peters came out on his presser, and he said some of the players was disappointed with themselves after the Wigan game. He was slightly disappointed with the performance, so they'll be hoping to prove a point this Friday, which is an extra motivation. So I'm with you, James. I think all roads point to a red and white victory on Good Friday. They need to be on form. You know, they need to be performing. They need to get that intensity in defence. If they can replicate the first 30 minutes like they did at St Helens away, that'll be enough. That 30-minute intensity, that's enough to win the game, just for that 30-minute. And it proved it at St Helens. And they should, if they do that on Friday, that'll be enough to win the game relatively comfortably as well, I think.
Which leads us to it's question time, which means that we, of course, every week invite questions across social media, supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers, and everything from the wacky to the weirdness, anything you may want answering, we will field. Normally they're quite straight. The Spirit of Rugby League over on X, he says, if Tyrone May goes, who else from the NRL, apart from Schneider, would you go for as a half? I know Reynolds has been mentioned, but he's always injured. We're not at the point yet, are we, James, where it's like pick and mix? We can literally just pick whoever we want to go for. The fact that we're talking about Reynolds and Schneider in the same conversation.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, I think I agree with that point about Reynolds. I think he's been a great player, but he just seems to be injured a lot. And for me, if we do going to get another half back from the NRL, then for me, we should be trying to get Schneider back.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Martin, it pretty much sounds like May's going, because I know Peter's alluded to the fact that it's not confirmed, but this club will not sit around waiting for some player to make a decision on where they're going. So the cogs are in motion for someone coming in, I think.
Lakin and Peters, they'll be beavering away as we speak. There'll be something there ready to be announced, I think, if May don't come up with a decision anytime soon. What my question is it his brother plays, is it West Tigers they're at?
West Tigers, yeah.
So is it a given that West Tigers want to sign Tyrone May then?
Well, it's the issue. Obviously, Taylor May is out of contract. He's not with a club, so he's an easy signing for the Tigers to make.
Because Because they've just released their standoff, haven't they? Or they're releasing the young standoff at West. I forgot his
They've
name.
dropped him.
Well,
They've dropped him, haven't they?
We've got another question here which might tie this in, and I'm sure it's not you, James, but it's from Grumpy Ass on X, who's a follower. With Galvin being dropped, dropped to reserve grade, no doubt moving sooner than later. The Dogs being vocal, of course, Canterbury, and Cleary coming out in Galvin's defence today. Do we see a Snyder return? Of course, that's a Robin. And of course, as we record this, there was news down under about Mikey Lewis being linked to the Tigers. Both Lewis and Reynolds have been linked to the Tigers. Odds on Reynolds for a year, then Mikey maybe. I mean, there's lots of moving parts in this, but I'm surprised by it. Well, we're not surprised, are we, Martin, that at some point Lewis will be linked with a move. That is a really man of steel. He's fronted up so far this season. No doubt when the Ashes take place, Mikey Lewis, unless he's injured, will be at the forefront of Sean Wayne's mind in terms of him playing. And as soon as, if he has a good Ashes, his price goes boom, boom, boom through the roof.
I said something similar to my dad that if Lewis plays and he plays well because they're going to be watching that series down under, and if he has a good series, if he's not already on the radar, he certainly will be at the forefront of everyone's radar. Because everyone's saying that they signed the wrong Lewis with Lewis Dodd, aren't they? Because you can't get a game for love of the money, and
Lewis Dodd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I hope not. I hope he's just had a baby son. He might want to be, is he a bit of a family man, a home bird, stay around, and Rovers have the money now with the power board and everything what's going on at the club. We're in a position now to offer players good contracts to stay. That'd be the ideal solution all round. But on the flip side of that, I wouldn't blame him if he wants to test himself over there. You can't stop the kid from having a go. But nothing will happen until after 2028 anyway, I don't think, because that's when he's under contract till. So, watch your space.
Ollie KI over on XE says, given the hooky situation, would you give Horn a spot on the bench, bearing in mind he's in the 21-man squad? Wigan Saints and them lot have shown the benefits of trusting in the youth and playing people out of position has bitten us in the past. I mean, Horn, it's not really his position anyway, and I think we've seen from Peters, he's blooding players into the 21-man squad to give him a taste. And we saw it with Booth, didn't we? Recalled from he went into the 21. So realistically, these players have got no chance of featuring in the first team squad, but he wants to give them the opportunity to feel part of the first team. Of course, they'll go through the captain's run. They'll be part of the build-up. They'll see what it takes to be a first team player. So I think it's smart move from Willie Peters and probably Jason Everton involved in that in terms of the academy to give these players an opportunity just to see what it feels like and tastes like.
Yeah, it is. It's all about giving the experience into it, and just I think Horn's a winger anyway, isn't he? So I don't think he would be going to the hooker, but it's just about giving them experience. Because Ruan's in the squad as well, isn't he? Just I think gives him experience. It's going to stand him in good stead going forward. Just like I said, just to sort of see what that whole process of going into the first team squad and preparing and playing prepared to play in a big game, what you need to do. We're getting advice from all the senior squad members as well. So going to be a great learning experience for him.
Yeah, Regan Andrews over on Facebook, he says, reckon maybe it's one loss. Brackets still performing fairly well, and people already losing their heads a bit, ? Personally expects us to carrying on. Nobody really expected us to go undefeated all season. We'll lose again and probably again and possibly again. After that, before the fat lady sings, it doesn't mean the wheels will fall off. And I think we've already spoke about, haven't we, Martin? Yeah, we lost to Wigan, but you've got to take a step back and probably put that the result into perspective over the course of what we've done so far.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd have said before the season start, you'd have been. Is it six from 7 we've got?
Yeah.
7 games. Is it 6 from 7? Top of the league. 12 points. Yeah, you'd have beaten your hand off. You'd have beaten your hand off with that. So just let's do the business on Good Friday and carry on.
Yeah, this is definitely, James. This is a great one, and I've got an opinion on this. Should ภิkhu play in the halves again? I'm saying no, and that's from Stan Wilson on Facebook.
Nope.
Yeah, I just think
he was outstanding last week. He was outstanding at centres, and then they moved into off half, and he's not as effective.
No.
He's still good,
I just think he nullifies any attacking threat, and I think he gets moved there to strengthen us in that edge position or that middle position for his defensive. But what you gain from him doing that, you lose from where he's best at, which is centre. And for me, ภิkhu is not a half. I think we saw it against Wakefield. He added nothing in attack. He went. We was playing like with one half back, weren't we? In reality,
yeah.
And it's not a position that I want to see him in there again. Len Beecroft against Wigan, he says it was too early to be dropping a goal. If you miss, you give away 7 tackles set. Not good against a side like Wigan. I don't know.
It was right in half time. It was in the last few seconds before half time where they went for a drop, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was a calculated drop goal, wasn't it?
It was nowhere near it, was it?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, big question, and it's an important one. Do you feel we as a club still lack composure in big games? At 6-0 and 12-6 when we was on top first half, we had plenty of good ball chances to knock over a drop goal to put more points on the board. We are one of the worst teams in the league for when we do attempt them at setting them up for them. So, composure. I'll tell you what, Martin, I'll start with you. Are we lacking composure? And James, you can answer the drop goal question.
Well, in the key moments so far this year where we've had to go for a drop goal, we've iced it in the first game of the season against Cass. So it wasn't really in them moments drop goals. It was only because it was coming to half time. It was a drop goal to nothing really, because there was like the hooter was virtually going as it left the boot. So it's difficult to criticise. Maybe later in the season when there's tight games, possibly, But the moment where we had to ice it this season, we did it against Castleford. So I can only go by that, really.
Yeah, I think you need to decide when the right moment is. Like I say, that one just before half time was probably just wound the clock down that last 2 or 3 seconds. But I think as Harry Smith showed in the grand final, sometimes they do work.
Robin Pod regular Scott Solway asks, is there a place in the squad for both Morg and Broadbent? As much as Willie loves Broady, can you carry him as a bench place just for the sake of accommodating him, even though he's versatile? Vice versa. I used to love vice versas. Do you remember them little chocolate and white? Yeah, you get them in vice versas. If Willie goes for Broadbent at full back, can you carry Morg as a bench player? Personally, I don't think you can have both in the 17 if everyone else is fit and they're in their rightful position. I mean, it's a conundrum, isn't it? Because of course we're going to the Derby game, and we're wondering whether Broadbent will be on the bench because of the Lytton hooker situation. Potentially, we don't know where Michael Lewis is, whether he's going to be playing. Morg, I don't know. Do we play both? I understand it's what Scott's saying, because it's a real difficult one, isn't it? In terms of
the goal kicking as well, isn't it? I think
goal kicking's a big one, and also what you say is, Martin, the fullback positions that they both play, when they play it a completely different way. Morg and Broadbent are completely different fullbacks, but they both bring James great versatility into the squad, don't they? So maybe
I'm inclined to have them both in there. Plus, as well, you got to think while we're still in the cup, when Morg's cup tied, Broadbent's going to need that to keep keep his match fitness up. So, like I said on Friday night, it was a surprise when he dropped Brody to the bench and brought Morg in, and I think there's space for both of them. I think, like I said, Broadbent does give you that flexibility. I think as we're getting to harder grounds now, his pace is going to come into it a lot more. Against tiring forwards, and it's probably could be a benefit to bring in somebody fleet-footed off the bench to take advantage of the gaps that'll appear.
Yeah, two more questions. Ian Dixon on Facebook, he says, and it probably follows on from what we've just discussed. Is loyalty Willie Peters' Achilles heel? The Wigan squad was so unbalanced and weakened. A case of too many. The Wigan squad, I'm thinking he's thinking the Rovers squad that played Wigan was so unbalanced and weakened. A case of too many square pegs in round holes, as evidenced by the disruption to the team caused by the Mickey Mack substitution and trying to fit players into positions that are not their best. Surely, if we had to become a trophy-winning team, it's best players in their best positions. Martin, probably following on from what we've just discussed, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we touched on that beginning of the show about all the different positions for one injury. Yeah, and you can't legislate for losing someone mid-game, and you've got to make quick decisions there and then as a coach. It is what it is. There's arguments for and against. Like you say, I think going back to the Broadbent, I think once everyone's fit and Reece Martin's back, he might struggle to get in the 17. It's because we're light on the forwards, so that they can bring him in. Hadley can play the 80, so you've still got the rotation of the other three forwards, and you've got Broadbent as a backup plan in case of any of the backs go down. Because a general rule of thumb is all coaches have 4 forward subs on the bench now, don't they?
James, I'll leave you with this one very quickly. What are your thoughts on people leaving the game early? The Roger Millward stand was 3/3 empty with 8 minutes to go against Wigan, with a stream of people leaving for East Stand at the same time. For me, I wouldn't do it, and I understand it's personal choice, but what are your thoughts?
I think it's personal choice, isn't it? I don't do it. I have done it in the past. I think the earliest left was about 10 minutes before the end at Wakefield once, but it's up to people's choice, in it. Sometimes you sort of suffer it because you've been through 70 minutes, 80 minutes of and you're thinking there's no point going earlier. Yes, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Well, what we would say is, gone are the days where you could park up on Preston Road, get in your car straight after kick-off and probably be home in 20 minutes. It is total gridlock. And I suppose, I don't know what the answer is, because if you go down, if you try to get through Greatfield and go home that way, gridlock. And if you go the other way, it's so now you don't get home till about 20 past 11. And that's if you're relatively close to the game, innit? And that's just leaving at normal time.
The price of success.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll pay it because I don't mind. I'll tell you what, Martin. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Robin Pod as a debutant. I look forward to welcoming you back on the Robin Pod as the season goes on. James as well.
Martin.
It's always a pleasure. We go into the game on Good Friday, hoping it's going to be a great Friday. I've got no worries whatsoever that it won't be. If you go into the game on Friday, make sure that you're loud and proud, as I'm sure that you will be, because that is the Hull Kingston Rovers way. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Singing a song when the red, red robin comes bobbing, when the red, red robin comes bobbing, when the red, red robin comes bobbing along.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are a reputable East Hull-based car specialist and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members.